Chris Cuomo is off the air at CNN. The news network suspended Chris indefinitely after the New York Attorney General released documents that showed how he helped his brother Andrew. Now, Anderson Cooper took over for Chris's time slot, and here's what he said about it.
New documents released this week indicated that Chris was more intimately involved than previously known in helping his brother, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, craft a defense amid a flurry of sexual misconduct allegations. Here's a statement released tonight from a CNN spokesperson. Quote, the New York Attorney General's office released transcripts and exhibits Monday that shed new light on Chris Cuomo's involvement in his brother's defense. The documents, which we were not privy to before their public release, raised serious questions.
All right, so I think we got to break this down a little bit before we get into the opinions of it, right? Because what Chris Cuomo is an opinionated journalist. But I think people out there, people in the world, think he's just a straight journalist and always telling the facts without any bias.
Well, he's editorial, so he is, yes, he is reporting the news, but it's also a filter. Because when we're talking,
people get confused about that, right?
Well, yeah, because anytime you're actually inserting your opinions about things, I personally, and this is just me, I don't think you should call yourself a journalist.
Right.
I think journalistic integrity is very important. And I also think in the era of fake news that we have a real problem because everybody who has a platform calls themselves a journalist. Journalism has been completely muddied and watered down, and that's the reason why so many of our authentic journalists' lives have been put into jeopardy. That's just my thought about that. That's my opinion. I'm also going to do this thing about flexibility of thought. That was my opinion because that's what we do on the show. I really like Chris. I appreciated a lot of his pieces, especially in the past year when it came to social justice. I also think that he was dead wrong. I don't know what you could possibly be thinking. I understand my brother's keeper, okay? I'm not getting into the X's and O's of what the accusations against Andrew Cuomo are. None of that. I do understand riding with your family innocent until proven guilty. But I also understand if you're going to call yourself a journalist and exercise journalistic integrity, then he should have removed himself from that situation the moment that he saw the smoke and knew the fire was coming. Because he always could have had a path to redemption to come back after there's a verdict or after this entire case against his brother is resolved. But the idea that he muddied the waters, I mean, I just don't know what he was thinking.
Well, that's where your boss comes in, Erica. That's why not only should Chris be out or suspended, but also the people above him that allowed his brother to come on that show over and over and over again. It wasn't just a special event. It was over and over again. And when you do things like that, you muddy the waters in terms of your credibility, in terms of being impartial. We can sit up here as journalists, as editorialists, and have a nuanced conversation about what those words mean. But to the average viewer, like myself, when I was at home watching television, I was like, that person's on TV because what they're saying is true. And when you start to play around with things like that, and you start saying things that can't be fact-checked because you are not a journalist, you start pushing medication that might not be good for people, giving advice that might not be good for people, because that's your opinion. But when it comes off as fact when you're on the television, and whoever allowed him and his brother to do that should also be out of a job, because we expect our bosses to keep us out of trouble. If we go, hey, I got an idea, me and Jeff are going to do this thing about, corona, and they're like, no, you're not a doctor, we're not going to do that. That's their job, to keep us out of trouble, and somebody should have kept his brother off that television screen. So both those people should be out of a job, and the people above them should be out of a job.
All right.